of the Lake Forest Lake Watershed District to order. It is 6:30 on October 23rd, 2025. First item is to make the roll call.
Hey, Manager Schmaltz,
Here.
Manager Baki,
I am here.
Manager Taves. Manager Schockmuller, President Anderson.
Here, we have a quorum, so we may proceed. Next item is setting of the meeting agenda. Steve, you wanted to add something to old business?
Yes, I would just like to add, to expand, we're gonna be talking about the budget, 2026 budget in item 8C. I just wanna make sure we can include it, not only talking about the expenditures and how we're trying to reduce them, but some other options that we might wanna look at in terms of addressing our levy situation.
Yeah, and things, like you said, that we're looking at, and some we have some indication of possibilities.
Possibilities, right?
Yeah,
And so,
okay, good,
yeah, like, again, this levy is not frozen. We've got till the end of December to
Right.
finalize it. So,
exactly.
yeah.
All right, very good. I'm just gonna do some updates in the report of officers, the other things, so that fits perfect. Is there a motion to accept?
I will make the motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second that. Okay.
Oh, Manager Taves is on board.
Yeah.
Correct. All right,
Yeah.
Manager Schmaltz. Are we doing roll call for?
Oh.
Yes,
Okay, sorry. Manager Schmaltz,
Yeah, aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
aye. All right, thank you. Consent agenda. We have, let's do the top two items. And then, we can do those as one. Unless there's things that you want to change in the minutes. And then I just want a little bit more detail on that Relief Community Forestry Grant app. And maybe, Emily, you could give us, a little brief overview of what that is. So it's recorded for public that watches us through the, through, what is that on YouTube? Yeah. Okay, so, I'll make the motion to accept A and B in the consent agenda. Unless there's changes, are there changes or comments people want to make? No, okay, is there a second?
I will second that motion.
Thank you, Manager Baki. Roll call?
Okay, Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Okay, Emily, can you give us a brief overview of what that project is for the public?
Sure, Madam President Managers. So Jackie Busjager from our office has been actually taking the lead on this one and working on an application. And we've met with Aiden Reed and been working on that. So the Relief Community Forestry Grant, that is a new program for us. The purpose of this grant program is to provide funding for tree inventories, plantings, assessment, maintenance, improvement, protection, and restoration. And so it's really focused on the trees, and that hasn't historically been a huge priority or focus for the district, but it certainly has its place in watershed management and, improving things like shoreline health or soil health, keeping soil in its place, and just generally improving the, natural spaces in the watershed district. So we're still looking at, the exact specifics of the application, but we do think that this could really dovetail well into the district's cost share program. And, with this funding, be able to infuse more tree planting into our cost share program and have more offerings of trees for people to utilize in their projects.
Yeah, that sounds like a great program. Is there a limit on the grant, or how large can you apply for? What's the top? Excuse me.
I don't think there's a limit, or if there is, it's very high. I don't think we would be close.
Okay, so it could be several thousands of dollars. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and that's why we were asking for manager's approval. We do think that we would request more than 40,000. We're still working out some of the specifics of the budget, but probably in the realm of $50,000 or so.
Okay,
It's
Good.
only a 1-year implementation period, so it's not like it can go out over multiple years.
Mhm.
You basically have one year to spend the money.
okay. Well, it sounds like a good cause to me. Other board members? Comments?
President
Sounds like-
Anderson, I will make the motion to authorize the district administrator to apply to the Relief Community Forestry Grant and execute the grant agreement if awarded.
Wonderful. Is there a second?
I would second that.
Thank you, Manager Tate and Manager Baki. Roll
Looks
call?
like a good opportunity.
Yeah,
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
aye. All right, we're moving now into a open comment section for the public. And I understand we have some folks, we don't have any here, we have one person here, but, can you notify us? I think probably, Emily, you're the one that can do it best, is, which people online do we have from the public?
Online, it doesn't appear that we have any, general members of the public. We have some guests, obviously, for the Highway 8 item that's coming up shortly. But, if there's anybody online that would like to speak during the public comment opportunity on the budget, you can raise your hand using the react button, and then raise your hand there and we can call on you.
Okay, great. I want you to put that slide up that I asked you to do at the beginning, just so that people looking later online can see this. But there's been I think, a big misunderstanding of what this 20.7 or 3, I can't remember off. the top.
23.7.
20, what is it?
23.7.
23.7% increase. And we are a very small, special unit of government. And so that number is not as scary as it is when you're talking about the city budget or the county budget or a school district budget. And this is how it breaks down for the median home value in each of our 2 counties. In Washington County, it's about $4.33 per month. And over in Chisago County, where we've always paid more because we don't have the offset of commercial property, it's $5.76 per month. And so you can multiply that by 12 and see that we're not out of the, into the stratosphere on what we're dealing with as far as that increase. So it's about $60 for the people in Chisago and about $43 for the people in Washington County. And that's per year. So you can do your own, calculation on a yearly basis, but it's not a terrible number to live with. So we get a lot done for the money that we do have in our levy. And obviously the projects are all taken care of by grants. And so it's difficult not to keep that budget growing as the years progress, because we go into different areas of the district, sub-watersheds, and that always takes a little bit more forward analysis, further analysis with the engineers. So it's always necessary to add a little bit more for that good science that we end up with. So I just wanted to make sure that folks online that later are looking at this from the YouTube video, that you can contact any board member at any time and ask questions of the budget. We will be happy to talk to you about it. We'll be happy to talk to you about the projects we've done and also the projects that we have planned. And just on a personal note, we have completed all of the upper watershed subcategories or sub-watersheds in our district, and we are now approaching those that are in Chisago County. And I just want to point out again that in Chisago County, we're the tail end of the water flow. And most of our pollution comes from Washington County. And so we've been paying our share all this time and are happy to do it, because we know that everybody likes their lakes clean and swimmable and fishable. And we just want to see the same thing happen in our area and are hoping that people understand that. But our projects are targeted and they are very successful. And so we want to continue that at this end area of our district. So please reach out to any one of us, and like I said, we'd be happy to take whatever time it is needed to help you understand what we do, why it's important, and the impact that we're having on not just our waters, but also in the way that we've approached this. And I'll mention this now, it's gonna be part of my officer thing, but I think it's important here that the public understands that we have been delisting our damaged lakes at a faster rate than the state has ever seen. And at a meeting I was at last night, they said that Comfort Lake is going to be delisted next year in 2026, just like Bone was. What has it been, 2 years now? 2
Right.
years. So and we've got 3 more that are right on that cusp of being delisted as well. So they're very interested in how we do it, and we're happy to share that knowledge with state. And we can hopefully have that duplicated throughout Minnesota and get to clean waters way before people thought that we could. So the work we're doing is valuable. We appreciate your past support and look for your support going forward. Thank you. All right, I'm going to close.
President Anderson?
Yes,
Sorry, I want to correct my earlier statement. Both Mike and Adam have reminded me we do have one member of the public that has joined us. I still see him as a board member, but ex-board member, not manager, but Chris Loth is online as
Okay.
well.
oh, very good. All right, Mr. Loth, do you have something that you'd like to comment on or ask?
I do not.
Thank you for coming, appreciate that, and your interest continuing as after your service, thank you. All right, so without any further need, yeah, oh, I'm sorry.
I'd like to comment.
Well,
I can.
sure, you're right here.
Unless you're moving on.
No.
No, okay, so my comments are more to, I don't think there's any question about the success of the watershed
Mhm.
district and the ability the watershed district has had to improve the waterways and improve the lakes within the watershed district. I think, I doubt there's anyone that will argue that
Mhm.
wonderful things haven't been done over the last several years. And all the lakes and waterways and
Mhm.
people that enjoy those
Sure.
are greatly thankful for what's been done. My biggest question and concern is the rate of increase. And the fact that, okay, we're showing there's a 23.7% increase
Mhm.
for 2026, and I know legally that's what you have to do, but that I think to, as I would say, right to ship financially, there's increases expected in 2027 and 2028, and I would expect that for full transparency's sake, that those increases would be part of this discussion as well, so the public knows,
Mhm.
3 years from now, what am I going to be paying? We see what the rate is per month
Yeah.
on the median value house, but what is it going to be
Mhm.
after 3 years of increases? What are those additional increases that are needed
Mhm.
to get the finances where they need to be? And what is that final impact going to be on
Yeah.
everyone in
Yeah.
the watershed district? So they really know, but again, all estimations, I understand these are just estimations at
Mhm.
this point, and it gets harder to estimate as you get farther out, but I do know
Mhm.
you have budgets that have estimations in or double-digit increases yet in
Mhm.
2027 and 2028, and I'd like to make sure that those are public.
Yeah,
It was asked if you could state your name and address for the rest of
Oh.
the,
My name is
yeah,
Keith Coonley, and I'm at 7481 North Shore Trail.
thank you.
well, to answer that question, we were looking at 10-year budgets during our, period of, gosh, I forget how long it's been. It's months of, going through the budget. So we do always look out that far. I'm gonna ask Steve to take over this part because he's been working with it most closely. But there are a number of things that we've been doing since we had our other meetings on the budget, especially with our CAC members, and that's all working really well. And so I think you'll be pleased with some of the things that we've discovered and some of the things that we're planning to look into further. We don't have solid answers yet, except for one, and that's very very pleasing. So Steve, if you'll talk about the
Yeah,
MPCA.
yeah, and on September 25th, both myself and Mike Kinney, our administrator, made a presentation, and it's about maybe 30 some slides long. I'm gonna give you the elevators view of that. I picked out 4 slides that I think that you would appreciate, and then we can send you a copy of the presentation. And you can go through it. Some of the
Appreciate
backup charts we have in that, you'll find interesting, but I thought I'd take you through a short version of that, and then also share some of the feedback we're getting from people that have come to a meeting like you're coming now, and when they left, they had a different opinion, so that's been going very well for us also. But let me take you through those 4 slides, and then we can go from there. That'll answer some of your questions, I think. Emily, could we start with the expense and revenue highlights?
Yes. The expense revenue recap from the budget or one of the
No,
slides
the
from?
slide, yeah, the presentation slide, right.
All right, one moment, please.
Should be slide 5.
Okay.
Those are some of the slides we got. That's the one I want, yeah. And before we get into this slide, this will be helpful in understanding how the budget's structured and what we have to do to control that 23.7% increase. But we've been raising the levy. We've had 25 levy possible increases, 25 years. We're 25 years old. And so at this point in time, one levy increase does not make a line or a trend or anything else. So I think that's one thing you got to consider. And we've had other increases that have been higher than that in the past. And as Manager Anderson mentioned, it's on a very small base. But let me take you through this. This chart basically shows in 2026, we've got a draft budget in May of 4.7 million for the budget. We've already taken out almost $300,000 of stuff that we've been doing in past years that we feel we don't have to continue to do that. Maybe every year, maybe every 3 years. All the critical stuff we're still keeping in there. So we're trying to reduce our costs that way. So that ends up with a budget right now of 4.4 million. It's important to understand how that's comprised. So you'll see in the next box, we got a levy of 50% of that amount, or 2.2 million. And that represents a 23.7% increase. And as you pointed out, that's going to be followed by a 14% possibly, and perhaps a 13% after that. And I'll explain why. So we're actually trying to pay this off fairly quickly, but we'll get into that in a second. So those are the numbers that you were interested in. They're not locked in stone because we're a long way from 2027, and we're working to reduce this down much more aggressively than we have in the past. So I think those numbers will probably hopefully be lower, but we don't know for that right now. Grant revenue, you see, accounts for 40% of the budget, and other revenue, 4%. So basically, for every dollar we spend in local levy dollars, we bring another dollar in from grants and otherwise. So you're getting $2 for every dollar we spend, basically, which is a tremendous. What is the city government doing in that respect? Rice Creek has got a $900,000 grant program for next year, and they've got how many? $4 or $5 million budget. So, you know, our staff has been very good at getting grants, and we provide a lot of value just in that ratio alone. And then we've got loans, and this loan is a little misleading because it's the last loan we're going to take, probably, possibly. As it stands right now, that's what we're forecasting for. It might change, and that's 6%. But we've actually, and I'll show you in the next slide, we've actually have a loan of $4 million at the end of 2025. So what we've done is we've accelerated our water quality improvement programs by using loans rather than using the levy, et cetera. And so it's almost like a short-term loan bond program. So you ask so what the cost to the public is to pay off that $4 million loan. And I'll explain more about that's what the cost to the public is going to be. And I haven't figured it out per person per year, but we can do that since you asked a good question, a different way than most people ask that question. So that's where we are right now. So as you notice at the bottom, I have 2025 and 2024 revenue, and you can see a significant variation. And that's because we do a lot of engineering projects and land purchase projects. And you can see in 2025, it was 5.3 million. 60% of the budget was or 3.2 million was projects and land. The year before that, the budget was only 3.1. 25% of the projects and land. It goes up and down, but based upon the opportunities. So having flexible short-term loans allows us the flexibility to deal with this variability financially, rather than trying to raise levy we actually tried to build up a chest of money, but we went through that pretty quickly because we were so successful. That's why we had to go to loans. So the next chart, I think, will be insightful in terms of what's happened over the years. Emily, would you take the levy history chart? Yeah, okay, thank you. So this shows from 2001 and 2008, we started in 2001 as a watershed district. And our budget those first 8 years was right around 250,000 a year. As we did research and understand what's happening in the watershed. 2009, we started raising money. We raised the levy 300%. Awful, right? But it's on a small base, 300%. And then we started building a chest to spend money over the years to cover our engineering costs that we thought would be coming. So we had a steady budget for all those years. Probably a mistake. We should have been a little bit more aggressive, but we didn't raise it. So then in 2000, so that's when we started our project. So we started working through money faster than we thought. And by 2016, we had a 6% increase in the levy because we were running out of money. Then it went to 24 and then went to 20. And we said, wow, we can't keep going like this, right? So that's when we switched to a loan program. So from 2019 on, you know, the levy went up a little bit each year, but the major funding was building up that $4 or $5 million war chest through short-term loans. And these loans were 10-year loans at zero cost. A lot cheaper than a bond, right? And then we got some more loans, but they changed. That's one of the things that went wrong. We got some more loans, but the term was changed to 7 years. So then,
Yes,
go ahead.
but one of the positive things that's happened is we were able to get our loans changed to 10-year.
Right, that's one of the corrective action
Switch
programs.
back, that's the
Right.
last
Yeah,
reason.
that just recently,
Right, and that's gonna save us $60,000 a year.
they're still working on.
That's worth 3 percentage points.
So,
That's one of many things. I'll show you what wrong, and we're trying to address everything that went wrong that we can. But that's kind of where we are, and so that's where we are right now. So that 2026, we needed a big hump to get ahead of this loan payments that we've got. We've got $500,000 for 4 or 5 years that we gotta go, and then it starts dropping down. But we've got to attack that, or we have some other options we're looking at now. But right now, that's what we had decided to do. If
well,
you-
one thing too, though, we've talked about at the board, but hopefully will never happen again, is if you look at 2021 down to 2025, you can see how low those increases were. And they were too low for the debt burden that we were carrying. So, you know, had we looked at that 5 years differently and put some money in the debt fund, we could have paid back a lot more loans than what we have now. But we're working on it.
And the other point that's important for the public notice is that the ratio of our levy to the market value, so we got levy here on the left and we got market value on the right. You take that ratio, it's in this highlighted column over here, it stayed pretty much constant over those years. So even though we've been increasing our levy, you know, it hasn't been much different than what the market property values have been going up. So relatively speaking, same costs compared to the value of your home, plus the water quality improvement is helping to raise that property value. Because for every 3 feet of water clarity improvement, you get 6% increase in your property value if you're on the lake. So that's a big incentive to keep the water clean. So that was another point. If you could go to the next one, the average levy increase, or why we need a higher than average levy increase. Okay, thank you. So these are the things that went wrong. When we did this plan with the loans, we thought we could get through and not have to raise the levy any more than what we were doing. But here are the things that went wrong. COVID was the first thing. So that hit in 20 and 21, and as you know, labor costs, at least here, went up, material costs went up. The government printed trillions of dollars, which caused inflationary pressures on us. So that was the first thing. We had to deal with those increases, that we probably weren't aggressive enough in raising our rates. The significant second thing was that in all the projects we've done very well on, but we had one, so the Sunrise River Wetland Enhancement Project was budgeted for $600,000. We got a loan, we got a grant for $600,000 to pay for it. But then we couldn't buy the property because the owner died and they had kids. And so it took us 3 years to work through that. Meanwhile, the prices are going up because of the printing of the money and everything else. So we ending up with a final cost of 1.6 million. We were able to get, staff was able to get another 300,000. So we had a $900,000 grant, but we still had to put out 700K out of our loan. And that set us back a couple of years,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
So that's a problem.
Didn't we get some money from Lower St. Croix as well?
Yeah, we might have got some other,
Yeah.
but we still had a big hit on that,
Yeah.
and that was the biggest one we've taken. And then the next one is number C. President Anderson mentioned we took some increases and, like 0% in 2023. We've been trying to be conscious about this, but we really were too conservative in our increases. So not only there, but in years earlier also. Secondly, we use diagnostic monitoring to get our great results of $200 a pound versus $2,000 a pound. But Bowser and the grant people won't pay for that. They'll pay for desktop analysis that costs you $2,000 a pound. But they won't pay for what we did that comes up with $200 a pound. Big projects, low cost per phosphorus, and also a lot faster, taking 50 or 60 years to get there. We've done it in 15 years. So we're looking to get that money back right now. We've met with Bowser, and I think
There's another meeting.
there's another
More
meeting.
detail, yeah.
Our administrator and President Anderson are taking care of that. Our loans doubled up on us. They changed the terms on us to 7 years. We've gone back. They've already changed that, so we've won that battle. That's worth 3% to us, one levy and 60,000 a year. So in summary, then, the loan dollars have been spent on water quality improvement. The money's gone. We spent it. So now projects are mostly completed and well below expected costs at $200 a pound rather than rather than 2,000, and in 15 years rather than 50 or 60. So now the public's benefiting from the clean water, and their property values are going up because the water's cleaner and now it's got a better cushion on it. The loans have to be repaid. There's no other choice. Now we can either cut staff or do that or so forth, but that's what we had to worry about. So, any questions that I've showed so far?
No,
to you?
you've
Okay.
covered this well, and I've been through it before, so.
Huh?
I've been through most of that before, so I understand. it
Okay,
well.
okay, all right. And then the last chart would be the impact on the taxpayer. Emily, if you could bring that up. Yeah, that's the one. And Manager Anderson's talked about this already. It's $40 a year or $4 per month, basically, for Washington County. So that's kind of where we are. We'll send you the whole presentation. We got a lot of backup slides on the improvement of water quality and all that kind of stuff in there too. But I think that gives you a gist for, basically, we have a strategy to try to accelerate stuff. We took loan dollars out. We got to pay the loan back. And so we're going to try to do it as cost effectively as we can. And we're working, and staff is doing a great job working on this right now. I just saw some things. We're going to discuss some things tonight again that are new that are going to help us, I think. But we can't promise anything. We still got 2 months to go before we have to make a final thing. The last chart I want to show you, Emily, if you would show the two charts from the survey we did after the watershed, state of the watershed.
Yeah,
So
can
this,
you
we
see
had a state of the watershed, and 99 people in attendance, 40 completed surveys. And then one of the questions we asked was, do you live, oh no, just go to the ones that we wanted, Emily, yeah, that's good. Do you think the watershed district is responsibly utilizing tax dollars? So 86% of the people said sure, 7% said no, and 7% don't know. And then what about the water quality question? Emily, do you have that one?
Yes.
That was 2, I think, or something like that. Yeah. In general, do you think our local streams, lakes, and rivers are getting better? And 78% of the people said yes. And as you said, if you've looked at the data, which most people saw at that meeting, they come to a conclusion that's probably pretty accurate in terms of the
Right,
performance
right.
we had.
The data shows that all the time.
Right.
The problem are the residents that look at it holistically and say, weeds are worse than I've ever seen. That's typically the kind of comments you have that are not statistically driven or data driven.
Right.
Type of comments that you hear quite often. So it seems like the people that, that we see, because I'm also on the Lake Shore Association as well. So when we hear comments from people in the district, it's usually kind of the opposite, but it's not typically data based.
No, right. And so when you
I'm
have,
seeing more weeds on my shore, or I'm out fishing, it seems worse than it's ever been, or those kinds of comments.
Yeah.
Where you, there's, it's really,
That's part
Subjective,
about,
right?
that's part about getting cleaner though. Is that
oh, absolutely.
you
I
have
mean,
the
there's-
sunshine going down and doing.
yeah, and we
Yeah,
haven't
there's-
blown our horn, because if we blew our horn, we would have less money to spend on water quality. So we are gonna have to do that now. We're doing it now because we have to, because we need a building and everything else eventually down the road. But But we have to spend a little bit more money in that area, especially for shoreline restoration and that kind of stuff, but. So that's kind of where we are right now. Again, I hope we have a better story towards the end of the month, but the question then is, we have to pay it off. The question is, how do we pay it off? The 4 million is not gonna change. We pay it off in 3 increases, or do we pay it off over a longer period of time or some other way, or do we get more grants? As we go forward, we're trying to get more grants to cover more of our fixed costs for less levy dollars, and they've also made great improvement in that already. We're starting to see some grants for next year that will cover program costs, just not engineering costs. So that'll help also. But any other thoughts or questions? With a
No.
quick overview of it, we'll send you the
Well, I
whole,
understand.
I know. and we're wrestling with the same question you're wrestling. Do you pay for, how do you pay for it? But somebody's gotta
Right.
pay for it, so.
Right, yeah, and that's the difficult part, because it doesn't seem like it's necessarily a lot, but over 3 years, when it's 2 or 3, more than twice what you're proposing here in 26, it can add up for some residents.
Right,
And,
Not
But-
if you look at it from the dollar perspective instead of the percentage perspective.
oh, I'm still looking at even from the dollars. I'm not saying to myself
Yeah.
it's an issue, but I'm sure there's gonna
Well,
be some residents will.
I mean, but
That are
you
tighter
can,
with their finances where that might.
I know,
that
but
might
it's
be an issue.
easier for people to understand if it's dollars.
Mhm.
So we just showed you it's at 23.7, it's $4 a month. And then if you, what's the next one, 15?
yeah, but
Yeah.
you got people that live on fixed incomes, you got people that are actually
Yeah.
going to community food shelves to get to eat. So, $40 a month is,
Not
Well,
a
this is- we're
month,
talking-
not a month, $4.
Well,
yeah, $4 a month, I mean,
Yeah.
$40 a year, it still adds up,
Yeah.
so,
Right, but it's gonna be 80 to 100 when
right.
3 years from
Mm-hmm.
now, and that's
Right.
that's a bigger number. That's
But then again, one of the thoughts is that this is kind of a surcharge. When the 4 million is paid off, when your bond's paid off, the payments go away, just like a school bond.
Right.
So that's how we have to present this. We haven't done that yet, but then we should present it a little differently. And people might understand it and maybe have less of an impact on them also, if you look at it as a bond rather than as a 3-year payoff.
I guess the question at that point then is, how long will you still build reserves, or will you lower the levy after that?
Well,
Assuming that-
I think our
that all your
reserve,
expenses don't
our
grow-
forecast show
grow.
that our
Yeah.
reserve comes up right away.
Yeah,
Our reserve's only at 27% right now, and it's gonna need to be at 35 or 40 to cover 6 months' costs,
Mhm.
so, but.
That was dipped into, of course, with that project he was talking about. But
President Anderson,
yes,
just out of curiosity, I looked up in Starbucks. Caramel Ribbon Crunch Frappuccino is $6.25 for
Mhm.
one drink.
yeah.
That's considerably more than my tax increase would be in Chisago County.
Mhm. Yeah, and again, I think that's, kind of the way that we have to look at it, and get the public to look at it. That it's percentage wise, it sounds horrendous, but when you look at the dollar impact, because our base is lower.
Mhm.
Than all of the other taxable entities around us, that it's acceptable, it's not that tough, it's not as bad as the thinking it's gonna be $20 a month or $30 a month. But you're right, there are people that are on fixed incomes and we have to be aware of that. And that's why we're looking at all of these other avenues so that we can use dollars from a different source. There are some grants that we're looking at that will cover overhead for the employees that are working on those specific projects. And so that's gonna help. I think Steve mentioned that earlier. So we are taking comments very seriously about looking in non-traditional areas that we haven't before, for any type of assistance in getting over this period, paying back the current loans. So we are very serious about that as well. But when you have to do something, you have to do it. The organization is valuable to the community.
without question.
And without question, and that takes good people, and that takes the programs that we have. Continuing, even after all of our big projects are done, we're still gonna have to have those programs. And we're still gonna have to do monitoring, maybe not as frequently as we've been doing it now in the beginning, as Steve mentioned, but there's still gonna have to be a record kept. So that we can tell for ourselves whether or not there's a breakdown somewhere in this clean water path that we're creating. So there's always gonna be something there, but we're gonna be over this intensity period. Again, most of that's taken care of by grants right now, the projects, the big projects. And by the way, as long as we're talking about this, you know, what opened the door to all of these big projects that we're doing is the legacy amendment. And that's up for reauthorization by the public in, I think it's 2034, somewhere around that period. So it's not that far away, but all of us have to be talking about that with the public, is that we need to make sure everybody votes that back in again. Otherwise, nobody will be able to do big projects without that.
And
type of
having
help.
examples of doing quality work in 15 years at $200 a pound, as opposed to taking 30 years at $2,000 a pound,
Mhm.
is gonna get that bill repassed. So that's why we're working with Bowser right now to pay for the diagnostic monitoring, so other watersheds can follow the model that we've established in
Right.
terms of coming up with a strategy. Pareto principle, 20% of you're familiar, you're an engineer, so you know what I'm talking about. So
Right, no, that's all.
if you didn't run your business that way, you wouldn't be in business.
Right, no,
So-
it's impressive how how you're doing that. Appreciate how that.
Yeah,
Amazes me every time it's used. I had a lot of experience with that in my business background, and it was just amazing. And you can use it for different things too, so it's not just, the money side or the project side, it's anything.
Mhm.
Staff,
They're familiar with it.
yeah, good.
appreciate you're here, because it's nice when they can come and
Yeah.
hear firsthand, and so it's good. I know Julie and Chris Ferrucci were here, and they walked away with a different opinion when they came in, so.
Mhm.
But we're addressing what you're concerned about, and we have a track record of.
We're not wasting money.
Yeah, we're not wasting money,
We're-
I don't think anyone's
No.
making that assumption or even insinuating that.
No, but you never know. I mean, some people are out there. This is gonna be looked at on YouTube, and so we wanna make sure that people understand that we're very serious about doing this with good science behind us, so that we can have the very best targeted projects that have good outcomes. And we've been doing that, so.
Yeah,
We're good, but
right.
we can't wave a wand and get rid of that $4 million.
Right, I think that,
Unless you wanna,
right, that's the
chapter 11.
bigger issue is the accumulation of that debt in a short period of
Yeah.
time. And if that could have been smoothed out, so this increase wasn't so large,
Mhm.
but it been seen ahead of time. And more importantly, in my mind, I think is, how do we ensure that doesn't happen going forward? So we don't have to get into a situation where we're looking at, again, 50% increase over 3 years.
right,
How do we smooth that out? So it's less of an impact on our.
well, we can spend it, but we
Constituents.
have to pay for it over a longer period of time.
Right.
It's gotta be paid for. I mean,
Yeah.
if we lose our grants, if we don't renew the project and grants aren't available, where does that leave all the water quality programs? If you haven't, we're done with ours. Forest Lake, instead of a 5% cushion, now it's got a 25% cushion. So that we built a large cushion there, so
Fantastic.
we're at less, and if we had not done that, the lake would be impaired. I am convinced of it, and the city would be sued. And the city would have to pay for it, and they wouldn't get it done in 5 or 10 years, so.
Well, I think we've told you
That's our.
everything
yeah,
that
thing
we need
got
to right now,
yeah.
but there's going to be improvements coming, because we're working on all of these other comments that we got from CAC and other people in the public, but mostly our CAC people, and so we are chasing down all of those. And the first one was to extend our loan payback period to the original 10 years. We have a very good reputation, and people that believe in us at the MPCA, and so maybe we got a little bit better treatment because we've proven ourselves over years. And they were the first agency that those of us that started the district in Chisago County met with them, and they worked with us after a period of time. But they've been very curious about the improvements in our watershed, because they were part of a legal challenge. So they're keeping a close eye on it, and they're very happy with what they've done for us in the past, and are looking for ways to always help us moving forward within their realm, of course. But anyway, so
We
thanks.
should probably move on.
Yeah, we will. But I think that, again, for those that aren't here tonight, and are looking at it on YouTube, please reach out to the board members. They're listed on our website. Contact, phone numbers are there. You can reach us through the district office as well and leave a note with, folks here. And, they'll get it to us and we'll be happy to talk to you one-on-one if that's what you'd like. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
You're welcome to stay if you want.
No.
You're gonna get to see the Vikings game.
We didn't get recorded.
Thanks for coming, Keith.
Thanks.
Have a good night. Thanks for coming.
The next item on the agenda is the general public open forum for anyone who has an item that's not on the agenda and would like to bring it forward. This is your opportunity. Do we have any folks like that on, online?
I don't see any raised hands as of now.
Okay. All right, then let's move on. You've got clarification if there's no one there. So we'll move on, to the advisory committee update.
Madam Chair and managers, attached to the board packet are the meeting notes from our Tuesday, October 14th CAC meeting. The main topic of conversation was the budget. So we discussed the budget. A number of our members had attended the previous public open forum on the topic, and then continued that conversation along with Administrator Kinney. Lots of good conversation. And then we roughly talked about some plans for next year on the types of items folks would like to see in the agenda for the rest of the year. I will note that one thing that came from the committee's discussion on budget was a desire to see budget documents earlier in the year. And Administrator Kinney kind of pointed out some of the reasons why that didn't occur this year and how in previous years we have seen budget documents as early as May or June. So just know that that's a topic of discussion for the committee, and they appreciate being involved as much as they were this year.
Okay, any comments from board members? Okay, let's move on then. Thank you.
Thanks, Aiden.
Item 7 on the agenda, the new business, Highway 8 roadway project. I'm very excited about this. Emily, do you want to give a prologue here?
Well, I can give a quick prologue.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Board of Managers, want to thank Chisago County for joining us today. They've been working on the design for Highway 8 for a while. And they've had to overcome a number of hurdles. They're nearing the 60% designs, and once again, throughout this process, they've met with both Watershed District staff and our engineer, and we thank them for considering our inputs. And at this point, I'll turn it over to both the district engineer, Greg Grasky, who has been reviewing the plans, as well as Joe Triplett from Chisago County.
Yeah, I can
Very
just
good,
say
thank you.
a couple quick things and then turn it over to Joe. So yeah, I've had several good meetings with both Joe Triplett and Bob Liba. Like Mike mentioned, this is a very big project, so it has many challenges when you're affecting that large of a corridor. The county's been working very hard to address watershed concerns and the rules. They just recently gave us a preliminary look at some of the stuff they've been working on, and they currently have, I'd say, about 10 basins or water quality treatment features along the corridor within Comfort Lake Forest Lake Watershed District, additional treatment further north outside of the district. So I definitely think it will ultimately be improvement in water quality for the downstream resources, but there are several challenges that go along with a project this big. And so with that, I will turn it over to Joe and his crew.
Thanks, Greg. I have to do the ceremonial. Can everybody hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you, managers, and good evening. Really want to thank you guys for the opportunity to come before you and share our little Trunk Highway 8 project. I am Joe Triplett. I'm the Chisago County Public Works Director and County Engineer. And with me tonight is Dimitri Tomasevich. He's the MnDOT East Area Manager. And like Greg had said, Bob Leba, who's the director with SRF Consulting Group. Bob's been heading up the drainage design on this project. So between the three of us, we should be able to answer questions tonight, and if we can't, we'll certainly take them down and we will get those answers. Just a little update as far as the project itself. Like Greg alluded to, we're at about 60% plans, which is a big hurdle. And we also have our EA approved from FHWA. So we're currently circulating that for signatures, and we'd like to get into the and open up the comment period. So that's been a struggle. I won't mince any words. That's been a hard lift, but we're very happy to be at where we're at. And then I just to touch on the project funding itself, we're at about 118 million of the 142 estimated million it's going to take to do this project. So we are currently at a bit of a funding gap still, and we're looking to overcome that through a variety of other alternate funding sources, and then again working with MnDOT to close that gap.
Joe,
Current schedule. Oh yes, go ahead.
Can I ask two questions already? What did that last acronym mean? What entity is that?
Oh, FHWA, Federal Highway Administration.
Okay, all right, thank
Sorry.
you.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, us engineers, we love our acronyms. Sorry.
Yeah, everybody in government does. I just didn't know that one. But anyway, go ahead.
And then just wanted to touch on the schedule. So our intent here and what we're working for is a 2027 start, and it'll be a 3-year project. We are required to keep the highway open to traffic, so that while that adds some expense and some time, it also adds some other degrees of difficulty, but we'll work through those as well. So I'm if you guys want, I can walk you through the project. I do have the layouts up and technology willing, I'll be able to walk through those if you'd like. And then at the end, if there's any questions, again, especially as it pertains to some of the water quality measures we're trying to deploy, we do have Bob on with us, and he can talk smarter than I can on that. So if we can, I will. Oh, all right. It says host disabled participant.
I will
Emily,
make you
can
a co-host. Try sharing now.
Aha, I think we got it. Okay, so I'm guessing everybody can see this. I'll start at the very west end, and we'll work towards Chisago. So from starting at the freeway, it's MnDOT has us doing a more of a pavement replacement project, so not a lot of impacts outside of where the road is currently. And as we get into the 2-lane section, that's where we start to see more of the reconstruction. I do want to pass along that we are also building about 7 miles of the Swedish Immigrant Trail, so you'll be able to get from almost all the way to Taylor's Falls from the Hardwood Creek when we're finished. And our Parks Department is currently has the missing link in Center City up for construction here next year. So we're pretty happy about that, as there hasn't been any bike or ped facilities through this corridor. So and that was something that we heard loud and clear at our public open houses too, the need and the want for some bike and ped facilities.
What side would that go on?
It's going on the north side.
Okay.
So as we come into Wyoming here, this is the Greenway Avenue intersection. You can see we're adding a roundabout here to help pull those accesses that are right at the highway, pull those off, and then we have constructing a backage road. One of the things you'll see is the improvement to the local road system that we're doing along with this project. The reason for that is this is by first and foremost a safety project, and one of the huge safety issues on this road is the number of accesses that are right onto this road. I'm sure I don't have to tell anybody this. I'm not breaking any news, but we're looking to take those about 60 direct access points on here down to 8. Now, in order to do that, we have to improve that frontage and backage road system, and that's what we're doing along with this project. All right. All right. Oh, that didn't work. Stick with me here. Oh, so that's our first snafu. Thank you. I will pivot here real quick to the second layout. There we go.
So Bixby Park is just on the northeast side of that last image, correct?
One sec, Jackie. Okay, back here. Oh, apologize. No, that's not it either. All right. Looks like we got 1 second. I opened up the wrong one. And luckily my mouse is not working, so I have to use the little touchpad, which that isn't my favorite thing to do. So, okay,
I
Manager
agree with
Anderson, we're here at this intersection. You were asking about.
Just as you're coming off the freeway.
Yep.
Bixby Park, if you can just put a highlight there, or,
I'm not sure where that is.
okay,
Apologize.
okay.
So, right. So again, we're matching in to local streets where we can.
Mhm.
As we come around the corner, this is really one of the challenging areas in through here. It really there's just not a lot of room on both sides of the road. So we do need to neck down and still serve these homes. There's Windy Acres in there as well. So again, this is one of our more challenging areas. And as we move along, we can see this is, yep, as we're going east. So this is Comfort Lake.
Mhm.
And as I'll point out that along with this trail project, the city of Wyoming requested an underpass for pedestrians to get from one side to the other safely. And so we're installing that along with the project. And this is one of the other really pinch points. You can see as we neck down, we are not at full design here yet. We're still working on that. As a matter of fact, I met out with the project team and the geotechnical team 2 weeks ago, and we walked this to, there's a need for more borings. We really want to limit any fill in this area, any lake impact. So what we're going to be doing is taking more borings and whether we sheet pile and retaining wall block this. This is the area that we're currently working hard on. Again, our goal is to minimize any impacts to the lake.
When you say neck down, you mean you're going to restrict the road somehow, or what are you talking
So
about? exactly?
instead of having a nice, oh gosh, I'm not, all right, so let me get down here. So see where we have this nice grass median,
Mhm.
and we have that. Well, in order to limit those impacts, we get it down to just a raised median in here. Does that make sense? So instead of having this huge footprint, we're bringing it down through the lake crossing.
So just let me see if that's my understanding is correct. You're adding another lane both ways, so you'll have
Yes.
2 lanes going east, two lanes going west.
Correct.
And then at the lake point where Little Comfort and Big Comfort kind of connect there, you're going to go down to 1.
Nope. We're
No?
still at 2
Okay.
lanes. But
Okay.
instead of having the big grass median in between the east and west we're getting
Mhm.
that down to just a raised median.
Okay, and what about the corridor that you talked about for bikes and people walking or running? Does that go
So,
down too? How
yep,
do you
yep.
handle
So in here, this sort of brown area here is that's the trail. So
Okay.
we're still able to get the trail. And again, this is what we have for preliminary. Again, this area specifically is going to change once we get more geotech information and see what we can do in here. So, but we are it'll have 2 lanes of traffic in either direction. It'll have the bike path as well.
Okay,
All right. So, and then we get up to our County 23 Green Lake Trail on the south and Pioneer Road on the north. Again, this is a signalized intersection that'll remain a signalized intersection.
yep, and that's probably where we end as a district, right there. We
And
don't go beyond.
if
Mhm.
you'd like, it won't take me very long to go through the whole project if you guys would like.
Yeah, go ahead. It's not too long.
Sure. So again, we continue on eastward. And here's where the XL Highline high power poles are. Working through some fun with XL too. Everybody gets to enjoy that. And again, once we're into this area specifically, again, another kind of pinch point with houses right alongside the road. And as we come through, I'll get us to our final layout. And again, we come into Chisago, so there's the Baptist Church. And then our County 36. And then we neck back down to 2 lanes to match into the existing. And at the end, we tie in at Carmel Avenue with a roundabout. So that's
All right.
that is it in a nutshell. And again, if there's any questions, design type questions, whether it's right away, whether it's water quality, anything along those lines, we have Bob. Anything MnDOT related, we have Dimitri on board as well. So I'd be more than happy to open the floor.
Any questions from anyone?
And again, I want to say thank you to your staff as well. They've been really great to work with, especially on a project of this scope. It's a tight corridor, and we're doing as much as a Chisago City resident. I enjoy our lakes, and I do appreciate the work that you guys do to keep them and make them better. So this is a big project for me on a number of levels, but certainly water quality hits home with me.
Good, that's good to hear. Any other comments or questions from anyone? Okay, thank you very much for coming tonight. I expected this was going to be a pretty quick presentation. I've been asking about it for a long time, just to get a scope for my neighbors. There's a lot of concerns that people have on noise. And how is that going to be abated, if at all? The truck traffic is 10 times more than what it was when we first moved in. And it's loud. From
Yes.
about 2:30 in the morning until 7. So,
Yes.
I know that's been a very big concern. I just wanted to inform you and the rest of the board. I've talked to Mike about doing a, more public oriented, review of this project in the Wyoming area. And, so we'll be talking to you about doing a bigger info meeting for that public sector that we have that's going to be impacted by this area. So stay tuned.
If I can, Jackie, we're along with the comment period for our EA environmental assessment, we'll be doing a big public hearing. It's generally
Okay.
not a big public hearing, but because the public hearing, we're going to take that opportunity to do another big open house. We'll have the layouts. We'll have everybody there to answer questions. We're looking to do that in November. So we are
Okay.
looking to get that back out there.
Yeah, the format of the meeting, though, the information meeting, I think we'll have better luck getting people together on one night. At least that's the feedback I'm getting from the people around that area. So, we'll talk to you more about that and,
bet.
yeah. Cause I think that's needed. Certainly, we're gonna have a lot more questions on the ecosystem and how that might be damaged or what you're doing to mitigate that potential. But I appreciate you coming tonight. A lot of questions answered in my mind, and I have a better feeling for how it's going to be to Comfort Lake. So thank you.
And you bet. Again, thank you to you guys, and you know where I'm at. Feel free to reach out with anything. Again, I'm more of the clearinghouse with MnDOT and maybe the design, the hydraulics. So don't be shy.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Have a
tonight.
good night.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
you
you so
too.
much.
Okay. Next item, old business. Bone Lake South property acquisition and budget transfer.
Madam Chair, I can provide an update on this one.
Thank you. Proceed.
And it's an exciting update, and we've got Blaine here too, and Mike Kinney's online as well, so they can certainly chime in. But basically, we've got a two-part action in front of you tonight. The first one is just kind of a simple budget amendment, just because now that we have the closing in sight, we would do the budget amendment and transfer the funds into that budget line item. It had just remained at zero until we felt more certain about closing occurring this fiscal year, and now we are. And so we have two grants that are going to cover the entirety of this acquisition cost. The first and the majority is a Lessard Sam's Outdoor Heritage Fund grant, and then the second is a Conservation Partners Legacy grant from the DNR. So I've been working with the grant contacts there, and we should be able to get upfront payments of both of those grant amounts given to us within maybe a week or so, business days before closing. We don't yet have a closing date, and so we are looking for the budget amendment, just kind of that housekeeping item, and then for the board to move to authorize the administrator to complete the acquisition. We've executed that purchase agreement on June 5th. And I'll just steal the screen share for a second here, just to remind everyone of kind of what the site looks like. So we have called it Bone Lake South because it is located just south of Bone Lake. So here's like a little tip of Bone Lake up here at the top. And this entire section here is the grouping of parcels, which is under single ownership. And so the current owner, we're going to carve this out, and they are going to stay there and live in the house and retain about 80 acres of the property. And then the rest, just under 238 acres, will be acquired by the district. Blaine's been working hard and working with the city and county and all sorts of folks to do the lot line adjustment, kind of redraw all of the parcel lines to make it possible. And then basically working with the legal counsel to draw up the papers and have everything ready to close before the end of the year.
Wonderful. Well, this has been a long time, coming to this point, and I'm sure we're all excited about that, but I'd like to give Manager Baki the honors of making the motion.
Oh, sorry, let me pull it back up.
Thank you, President Anderson. I'll gladly make that motion as soon as it comes up so I can read it. There we go. Okay, I would like to make a motion to amend the 2025 budget for account 6-000-F Bone Lake South to $2,350,000 and to transfer $2,350,000 from account 000-3300 grants receivable to account 6-000-F.
I'd like to second that motion.
All right, roll call.
Roll call.
All right, Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Tate,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next motion, number 2.
I would also like to make this motion, President Anderson, is to move to authorize the administrator on advice of council to complete the acquisition of the Bone Lake South property as per the terms of the purchase agreement executed on June 5th, 2025.
And I'll
Who wants
second
to-
that.
Thank you, Manager Taves. Roll
Manager
call.
Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Tate,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you, board. This is exciting and can't wait to see what it's gonna look like.
Thanks to staff for all the hard work to get this thing
Absolutely,
signed.
always.
Wow, my
Without
God.
saying, thank you.
Lane, I think it's gone through 3 lives.
They get paid for that, though.
Not enough. Good job, good
Yeah,
job.
very good job. All right, item B under old business, state of the watershed recap. Aiden is gonna do that. There he is. Okay, Aiden, is that you?
Adam will do that, Madam Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Adam, yes. I always get you two mixed up. You don't even look anything alike, but it's that first A. All right.
So Madam Chair, Board, at the last board meeting, we just did a quick recap. I've got a updated PowerPoint that explains the expenses and then the survey as well that we did that evening. So if I can share my screen here. All right, hopefully you can see the opening slide with the folks that are looking at the informational booth there, the materials. Expenses from the evening. So our proposed budget was right around $5,000. The food and venue through the Legion was $4,448.31. And then the Watershed Champion Awards between the statues and the supplies and some of those materials, $477.88. And then printing for all the information, which that printing was done in-house. That's $410.40. So our total expenses for the evening, $5,336.59. So pretty close to the estimated $5,000 that we had.
Yeah.
And then
Was it great? Go ahead.
And then the survey, Manager Schmalz already mentioned a couple of the slides, but kind of a quick recap of it. So we had 99 people in attendance, about 40 completed surveys. Some folks completed the whole survey. Some folks skipped a question here and there. But overall, do you live in the watershed? 86% of the folks that were there that night said they lived within the watershed district. The second question, do you think our local streams, lakes, and rivers are getting better? 31 out of the 40 said yes, so 78% there. 12% or 5 no, and then 4 said they didn't know. Question 3. So this one, they were provided a list, and then they could select from the list the categories that they thought. So it was asked the 3 highest priorities. So the way to interpret this is how they answered it. So 68% of the people said aquatic invasive species were one of their top 3 highest priorities, is a way to kind of look at this. So AIS, groundwater protection, natural shorelines, the majority of folks, or pretty close to the majority of folks, said those should be the 3 highest priorities. And then you can see the other numbers as we go down there a little bit. In regulatory permitting, surprising or not, only 5% of the folks said yes on that for the highest priorities. Fourth,
I think, just a comment on that, Adam. I think that it reflects how much effort we put in each of those areas. If you would have asked about natural shorelines 5 years ago, it would have been down at the bottom. But because we've been pushing it lately, it's jumped up much higher than I thought it would be, 48%. And then regulatory permitting, they probably don't know what that is, and it doesn't seem too important to them, but it is an important part of our program. So it doesn't reflect on.
Well, we're mandated to have it, so
Right, right,
it's not gonna go away.
right. But anyway, I think that's very interesting. So.
Well, I think the whole event was spectacular, and I think it'll just, more people will come each year. But it's a good way to stay in contact physical contact with the public. And not just have everything on Zoom and on YouTube and all of that. So I think it was well done and worth the money that we spent on it. So thank you again, staff, for a good job.
And
Any
then,
other comments?
so a couple more questions, if I
Okay,
may,
sure.
or survey results. So the fourth one was, in your opinion, 3 largest sources of pollution, the lakes, streams, wetlands. This one actually surprised me quite a bit, that 68% of those folks said residential lawns was one of the top 3. So, and everybody has a lawn, whether you live in town or you live on the lake, everybody in that room probably had a lawn. So, streets and roads, 48%, and then we got below 30% for the rest of them down through there.
Farms with livestock. Well, we kind of identified those problem areas, haven't we? And worked on them, so there's some left, I guess.
And yeah, in the grand scheme, we have very few farms with livestock, even though they've identified that 1/3 of the people thought they were still the problem, or that concept is still a problem.
Yeah, those are the people that live near those places, so. Okay,
And then question 5, one of the questions I definitely wanted to put in there from the education outreach side, how do the folks that are there, how do they hear about the programs, projects, and activities? In my mind, I was hoping something would jump out, like, there'd be a golden ticket in here somewhere. But overall, it's pretty even on the messaging. Facebook, pretty low, but we're really just getting geared up on Facebook compared to what we had. But, relatively even. Email notifications by far the top one, but overall 20-30% are hearing it from a wide variety of sources. So there wasn't a golden ticket in there, unfortunately, which I was really hoping there'd be.
yeah, that'd be nice.
Question 6, which Manager Smalls mentioned already, do you think the watershed's responsibly using tax dollars? And 86% of the folks in that room said yes. And then you can see a couple of the comments. There was one comment, could do better. Second one was yes, based off the water clarity in the AIS. Keep in mind the surveys, folks could have picked them up right away when they came in. And then at the end also, Tori was walking around and handing them out. So there was, some folks might have done the survey right away and some might have done them after the presentation as well. So another comment was unsure. Another comment about grants would be great, but they understood there wasn't a lot out there. And then there was a comment on the budget, the monthly cost, not just the percentages, that kind of thing, which, we did tonight, or did a pretty good job on that tonight. And then question 7, how would you like to see the watershed more involved in communities? I summarized quite a few of these. More education outreach by far, 11 comments on some aspect of that. There was one comment on more interactions with shoreline owners. There was a comment on AIS treatment, specifically on Comfort Lake. There was a couple of comments on more interactions with the government entities. There was one person said the federal government. And then improved street design and function was one comment on that. And then just the last question was pretty broad, pretty wide open. Any general comments you would like to see the staff, for the staff and the board? Honestly, I thought we'd have a few people vent, and nobody vented in the comments. Overall, the majority of the comments were something along the lines of thanks, keep up the good work, you're doing great. And then you can see the other comments that are on there. I'll stop sharing. If any board members or anybody would like the full data set, we certainly can provide that. We scanned all the surveys. There wasn't any private information. Nobody put their addresses or names or anything. So they're all pretty confidential, but we have the full data set if anybody would like it as well.
Okay, thank you. Comments from the board?
Yeah, I think we should continue to do this, where we have an educational program and that try to elicit some feedback to build our database. We have similar type questions that we can combine them and enlarge our sample size. So.
All right. Anybody else? All right, thank you, Adam. Next item, Minnesota Watershed Annual Conference Registration.
2026 budget.
I'm sorry?
2026 budget.
Oh, geez, how did I miss that one? I already checked it. 2026 budget projected expenditures. Is that yours?
That's,
Yeah,
Well, I think-
Madam,
Yeah,
I
Emily,
could
you're
give an
gonna
intro,
cover
or
the-
Steve, would you like to?
Well, I think what we're gonna looking at here is, taking a look and talking a little about what we've been able to accomplish so far. And then also we'd like to add in some of the good work staff has been doing on some of the new stuff we're looking at that Manager Anderson talked about. And just to bring up our new managers, or our managers that are here tonight, so everybody can get up to the same speed as we move forward with these concepts. Some of these concepts are new that the team has developed, and so we want to make sure the whole board sees it. So we can move together now and decide whether we want to use a new strategy for funding or financing the levy, or stick with what we've got. So it's important that we get this information out tonight. Maybe you want to start, Emily, with the cost reduction of about 300,000 this day, so the managers can look at that very quickly. Do we have that chart that you had before?
Yeah, you want to start with the 15%, the budget.
The 295,000 things that have been put
Oh,
on
sure.
hold.
Yeah, I can start with that, budget cut summary. One moment, I had some other things pulled up. Okay.
Yeah, this was
Everyone
put
gets-
together, I believe, by staff, with Emily working with staff to come up with some ideas when we were trying to compress some of our costs. And, you can ask the board about this, but we probably don't know what's more important or less important than you and the staff and especially Mike. So my first question is, Mike looked at this and is he okay with what we've got on there as far as impact on the organization and possible results in the future? Mike, I didn't expect you to answer directly. I just wanted to know if you've been involved or not.
These are all reasonable adjustments to the budget that staff agreed on.
Okay,
I think we need to give this to all the managers to look at
Right.
and either call a special meeting if we need to do it sooner, or put it on the agenda for action in November. Because every one of the managers should look at this and have time to study it before we take a vote.
And just for clarification for the record, it has been distributed in past board packets, but I think it's just been kind of buried because we've been talking about so many other topics. But we can send this one out on its own, just so it doesn't get buried.
Okay. Sounds good.
and then since we're short on time, I'd like to spend the time on some of the new stuff that staff has been working on. I think Mike had kind of summarized the letter before he left here. I think maybe the first thing would be to talk about, since we were trying to get the loan renegotiated, maybe we can, some good progress, but maybe you can update the rest of the board on that.
Okay. So, me?
Well, who worked on the loan? That was Emily and,
Yeah.
yeah. So you want to talk about
I
that,
can-
Emily? So,
Yes, I can summarize that. So, yes, it was me, Mike Kinney, and Brad who met with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. And so just to recap, we have dispersed 4 loans to date. We've been calling them Loan A, B, C, and D. Now, loans A and B, those were during an earlier portion of the program, so they were always 0 interest, 10-year repayment. But loans C and D were taken out at 1.5% interest and 7-year repayment. And so the meeting that we had with MPCA was to ask, could we get loans C and D changed to a 10-year repayment schedule? And as it turns out, there was a function in that agreement that allowed them to make that change. And so they actually pretty easily said, you know what, yep, you guys do really great work and you get good results, and we have the ability to make this change. And so we're going to make this change for you. And so those 2 loans are now on a 10-year repayment schedule. You know, the amount of interest that we have to pay did end up going up a little bit. However, it kind of smooths things out. So as we look at the cumulative loan repayments over the next 5-6 years, going down by about $60,000. Of course, it's going up on the back end, but really in these key next 5 years, we'll be paying out less on the loan repayments, but still paying back all of the loans. And, assuming we don't take out any more loans, which is kind of the next discussion, the loans that are presently out will all be paid off by 2035. And I can show the numbers for that if you want, but really it's savings in the short term, but then it's kind of smoothing out and equalizing over the long term.
So if it's $60,000 a year for that first year, that's equivalent to with a levy of around $2 million, that's equivalent to 3 percentage points. So rather than 23.7, we could do 20.7 and still have the same results. As an example, that's how we might be able to use this, or we could just pocket it too, whatever we want to do.
Or pay more.
Right.
Or feed it to get our reserve back up to where it needs to be.
Right.
So, there's ways to do it, but it's huge for us, but in the impact of the loan, we're gonna be paying $440,000 a month instead of $500,000 a month. So we still have a big chunk that we need to pay off every year, so. Yeah, so we'll budget accordingly, I hope, going into the future and make sure that we're taking care of our debt and having our increase appropriate for that purpose.
Yeah, one of the concepts we're working on here is to treat this almost like a bonding issue. So we've got a $4 million loan that we've got to pay off at the end of this year. So rather than trying to pay it off with 3 increases, 23.7, 14, and 10, push some of those payments back end of it, and then treat it like a surcharge each month, each year. And then when that's paid off, then the surcharge drops off, it's gone. And we go back to what the normal increase would have been. And that's what we want to talk a little bit tonight with the first version that they put together. But having a 3% impact in the short term helps us to reduce that first hard hit that everybody's complaining about.
Yeah, but again, I think that this is kind of pushing the board members who haven't been working on this and don't understand it typically, I don't understand it thoroughly, giving them the time to actually be able to seriously look at it and then be ready for action at a future meeting. But let's ask the other board members. Manager Baki and Manager Taves, how do you feel about that?
I'd like a little
Well,
time
we
to
have to
take a
show
peek
them
at
the
it.
plan. Let's go on this, and then why don't you talk about Bowser? That was the other item we're trying to recover.
I will, but I'm really worried about pushing this. We're not pushing for a vote tonight on this.
No, I
Okay.
just want the concept, so let's do the
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah,
Emily, why don't we go to your chart that you and Brad and everybody put together, and then go through talk through what some of the pros and cons are, so they can see what's actually happening, even though this is a rough draft. I'm not sure we can see it on the screen, that's what worries me, but.
Yeah, it might be a little bit difficult. I'll try to zoom in. You want to look at the adjusted loan projections or the 10-year budget projection?
I think what we should look at is look at the percent increases in the levy at the bottom, and then show how that impacts the fund that we're trying to maintain, our reserve, and then maybe look at how it affects the loan pay down.
Okay. So a little more background. So this is kind of yet a new scenario. So Steve asked that we look at, so given this, we've gotten the new 10-year payment schedules on the loans. Is there anything else we could do if the board wanted to take that levy increase of 23.7% and do less of an increase? Because of course the board has until late December to decide if you want to lower that levy amount. And so we looked at a scenario that asked, okay, let's say we wanted to get the 2026 levy increase to be at only about 15%. Instead of raising the levy by 23%, let's raise it by 15%. What what would be needed to make that happen. If we weren't going to make any cuts to the expense budget, then, you know, that lowered levy revenue would be offset by taking out further loans. And so that's what we have here. I'm going to show this, and it might be kind of hard to see. We can distribute and print out. But basically, you've got, you know, a levy of just over 2 million. That's a 15.6% increase precisely, keeping the grants and other revenues the same. And then to sort of balance it out in this scenario, lowering the levy, increasing the loan disbursement. So the approved budget had a loan disbursement of $234,000 in 2026. This, we might want to bump it up a little bit to cover some of that, even though we are cutting some of those expenses in terms of the loan repayment. And so roughly more or less balanced budget in that scenario. And so moving down here, we see kind of carrying forward what the estimated year-end available reserve fund balance would be, non-dedicated. And, you know, it'd be kind of, we want it to be about 30% or more. And so it'd be still kind of cutting it close, but this is just a scenario for discussion. And really, I think what Steve was wanting to look at is, okay, what is the loan pay down under this scenario? And so I've got this line here that shows the remaining loan debt balance at year end. And so this is just the Clean Water Partnership loan. If you look at our audit report, there's other debts in terms of it's like the staff wages liability or something like that. So there's a lot of other things that go into that net position calculation. You know, the district's overall net position is negative 1.9 million. So there's a few things that go into that. But if we're just solely talking about our loan, outstanding loan balance, at the end of 2026, if we took out another 300, but we're paying back about 449, you know, that brings our outstanding debt down a little bit from where we ended at 2025. And so you can see, just focusing on this line a little bit here, just how that number goes down. So even if we took out maybe another smaller loan in 2027, the repayment is still a lot higher than taking out. So it is steadily going down. It would be paid off by 2035. This projection doesn't go out that far, but by 2035, it would be zero. And so,
but what's even more interesting, though, just let me interrupt you a minute, Emily. I think what's really interesting here is that you've seen we've taken a 15.6, a 10, and a 10, and then a 7. But after that, in this model, we don't take a levy increase thereafter, and we still get the loan paid off. So we've even got more room, I think, to slide more money to the right. It's more levy increases to the right and spread this out even further and still pay off the loan within that time period. And that's what we have to play around with, I think. We'll have to see how that works out. But, you know, we're certainly going to have a levy increase because we have to have a levy increase just to cover inflationary expenses. Otherwise, we're pulling down there. And also the reserve goes all the way up to what? Look at 44, 47, 50%, which shows you that we've got extra money in there to work
If
with.
that's truly dedicated.
Right.
Or non-dedicated, I should say. Is that what you're saying? And so we're not going to be using that money to pay for the engineering that we've been paying all these years, right? Talking about the preliminary engineering that we haven't been paid for.
This scenario doesn't include any sort of back pay for that, but it does assume that moving forward for all work in the future, we would wait until we get the grant on hand and then begin work when it can be billed to the grant. And it would be 100% funded by the grant.
Well, that's my question. So there's nothing hidden behind that number. So as the reserve increases, we're not going to be using it for items like that anymore, correct?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a good point.
Yeah. Well, I think the concept,
But the thought would be that we're gonna have to have an increase every year to cover inflationary increases on our,
Mhm.
staff and our core programs that we have to keep going, right? And then if we have money left over, that can go to paying the loan off. But we're gonna also have so with that, say that's 4.5% or 5% each year across, as an example. Then maybe we have a surcharge to pay off the 4 million of another 4 or 5%. And that's spread out over that same time period, but maybe pushed more to the back end, so it doesn't hit up front so much. And when that 4 million's paid off, that surcharge goes away. So it's much easier to sell to the public. It's like you have a school bond, you're gonna cost you another $600 a year for 20 years or whatever it is, but then after that, the bond is paid off, that $600 goes away. So I think people understand that kind of a concept, and instead of having a long-term loan which costs us money to do and all that, we use short-term, low-cost loans. So I think it's something we should pursue. I think it's got some possibility.
well, I think the board needs to think about this, and we either call a separate meeting for the
I
board,
agree.
for the budget discussion, which I prefer. Or we can do it at a future meeting, which I don't think is ideal. So maybe we can squeeze in a survey, Emily, about setting up a separate meeting.
Well, first of all,
for the budget.
what do the new managers think about this? It's the
Yeah.
first time you've seen it. Can I get some feedback from everybody? Are we okay with this kind of a concept? Can you see the power of it in terms of getting us out of this hotspot a little bit? I mean, they're gonna have to pay for the $4 million anyway. We can't want.
We talked
yeah.
about this though in our previous budget meetings,
Right.
because there were scenarios from the CPA doing that very same thing. And separating out the debt service basically, and when that was paid for, then it was done. It's not going to continue into the future. But having a dedicated debt service fund, I think serves that purpose, just as it shows here. It's available for the public to see that it ends when the debt is paid off.
And then it goes away.
Yeah, it goes away.
Right.
Unless we have more debt, and if we use loans, we're gonna have more debt. So, that's something that we have to think about.
Right.
And with all the changes that we're talking about that might happen, that might not be an issue, in the future where we have to take out loans. But let's give it some deep thought, and let's come together, after we've each formed an opinion about, where we stand on that. But the concept, is tied, I think, more to the debt service fund, which is visible in our budget. It's visible in every monthly report we get for the treasurer, and so people can follow it that way. So,
Any feedback from the two managers?
I guess my thought is I appreciate looking out to 2035 and as far as where we would like to be. But the question that's in my mind right now is, what is it specifically we are addressing with this look at this spreadsheet for 2026? What is the action we are specifically addressing? I need some clarification on that.
We're proposing to increase the levy in this example, instead of 23.7, 15.6%. And backfill with some loans, which will raise our loan position just a little bit. And then next year, instead of having 14, go to 10, and then instead of having 13, go to 10. Although I think we can lower those numbers also, and make it even softer for the public to accept.
So for the immediate 2026 budget, we're looking at decreasing the levy and taking out short-term loans. That's the action we're addressing. Is that correct?
Well, we're talking about reducing the levy, not decreasing the levy. Levy's still gonna increase a lot. What we're taking out is, instead of a 23.7% increase, only a 15.6% increase.
I understand that part, and that's what I meant, is that we're actually decreasing our increase.
Right, correct.
Okay.
Which
But
is
we're
what people
also
want us to
looking at
do.
taking out short-term loans, which we haven't addressed in the past.
And Emily explained how the loans work. The loan total will go down and, actually, we'll stop taking loans after 2027 probably, but we could even extend that out a couple more years if we wanted to. If we get, more favorable results in terms of not having to hit the people so hard the first 2 or 3 years. It's no different than a school bond. You've been on the school board for a number of years, right? So this is a 15-year school bond board, a bond for us using short-term loans rather than floating a bond, which takes a lot of time and money and effort. And we've already spent the money, by the way. So.
Let's give us time to think about this. We're not gonna solve this tonight.
I know,
Just
but-
make sure everybody understands it and then get this. If you've got a memo or something that you wanna include, that's fine, but just make sure that everyone has this document. Cause that's what everyone has to study and put their comments down on and bring it to another meeting. I would recommend that we do a separate meeting. I don't know, how does the board feel about that? A workshop just on the budget again? But to solve this question, a specific question.
I think that's fine as soon as we get something worked up that we're happy with, maybe 2 alternatives.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then I think we also want to continue the strategy that Emily was showing on her first year. So each year, what percent of the levy is for what? So, you'll have a pay down surcharge, right? And you'll have a inflationary increase, and then there'll be a 0.5% in there for delinquent levies that we lose each year, right? So that's all itemized there, and then that one part goes away after we get the loan paid off, after the 4 million is paid off, so.
Yeah, I think we all get that.
Okay, but I mean, it'll be
It's just-
easier to
it's
see
just-
that
it-
way then too.
Yeah, but we've seen that in the past, and so I think it's just a matter of making individual decisions on what we think is the best pathway forward. To keep taking loans and stretch that out, because we are going to do that. Or deal with it as we have presented it already. And, we can come back with an educated answer.
Madam President?
Yes,
Madam President and managers, yeah, Emily and I worked on this, with just the specific task of trying to put a model together for you. To give you a good example of how this would work, if we, chose to go this route as one of the options. And it can all be very easily tweaked with the model that we put together. So it would be beneficial, we could set up a couple of options. That we can talk about and agree is the most likely options. And then after that meeting, you'll have a clear view of it and we can hopefully make some decisions.
Yeah. And get some CPA advice as well. On what
Yeah, we
they
gotta make sure
consider
the
to be-
CPA agrees with what we're doing here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we don't want to go down the path and find out that we should have turned left and we went right straight ahead or something like that, so.
That's the point of getting them involved.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
we'll do that, thanks.
Yeah, okay, very good. So. Manager Taves, do you have an opinion?
Just want to see
special
order,
meeting?
want to see those numbers. It's too hard to
Okay,
read them on
good.
screen.
Yep. Manager Baki?
Yes,
Do you
I
have a-
agree. We need to see the numbers again, especially the numbers I'd like to see are from the staff as far as reductions go. That was a quick look there and this is all new information. We should be getting this before we meet. I want to stress that. I mean, it seems that we have just a couple people who are cogitating over this and Doug and I are left in the dark and that's not right. We should be getting this information before we have these discussions.
Yeah.
You're right, but the thing is, we're working on this and that things are changing quickly, and so we've got a small task force, and the task force is bringing it to the board. That's why I insisted we do it tonight, rather than waiting till the next meeting, because we only got 2 meetings left for the year.
Right, but
And,
you're asking for our opinions and
Well, just-
it's hard for us to
well-
give it on the spot like this without having
Yeah.
an opportunity to review the information and think about it intelligently. So please, I mean, share this information more freely. We understand it's a draft. We understand it's a work in progress, but Doug and I are being left in the dark on some of this stuff and I'd like it to be more transparent.
I haven't seen it either, so it's not just you two.
Madam President, managers, just for further clarification, this was developed just yesterday, so as a effort to try to develop more options for the board to consider. So,
Well, and it came from a lot from Fran, Miron's comments. And so, which one of them is that basically, public doesn't like big levy increases, and people that are responsible for big levy increases might get not replaced on the board again. So that was a fairly direct comment that he made, and so not that it affects me any one way or the other as far as I care, but the fact is it was important to him to say that, and I think that's what pushed us to look at it for another option.
Well, I
So,
agree, but here's the point over and over again is that we have a budget that we all have struggled with over the last number of months and have come to that point where we chose that budget with the 23.7% increase. Comments about how big that is, I think with all of the illustrations that we provided, that for us, yeah, it's a big percentage in people's mind, but not for this little special unit of government. It has a smaller impact than I think people want to see or can't see right now. But having that broken down, not just by year, how much more it's going to be, but showing on a minor level or a deep level, so that they can understand it is showing it monthly. So when you see that $4 is, well, it's not, they're thinking it's gonna be probably 200 or something like that, you know, based on our prior budgets. So,
right.
so I think, you know, I join in that same conversation that, or comments that Manager Baki just made it's, you feel left out when you haven't been told even that this kind of analysis is going on. And so it's a big shock and a big issue to digest it at a meeting like this and then try to have an opinion one way or the other. So basically, in a nutshell, this is a way to lower the percentage that we are proposing and the one that we've already got on the books. I mean, it's been approved by the board. So lowering that 23.7 to, would you say 15?
Or lower.
Okay,
We
well,
have room to go lower.
we need to look at that. I just. And
You can look at the numbers and tell we got room to make it lower if we want to,
well,
but anyway.
how tight do you wanna make it? You know, that's the other question.
The other thing is that we operate on adaptive management.
Mhm.
And so something with Fran Marin's presentation, we got a lot of extra new data coming into to the decision tree.
Yeah,
And we don't ignore data when it comes in, we adapt to it.
of course we
And so
do.
we're trying to, the team is trying to adapt to it as quickly as possible. That meeting was held what time? Last Wednesday
Mhm.
was a meeting? So it's less than a week that they've been able to turn this around, take that data and try to improve upon
But
correcting
the other
that.
side, the flip side of that is that we're only seeing negative comments, it seems, from a very small circle of people. You know, and so we gotta keep that in mind too, is that we can't whittle down so low that we can't do what we need to do and maintain staff and our projects, excuse me, our programs that are so important. And those are ongoing, so just give us this information and we will survey everybody for a special meeting, in a couple of weeks, hopefully. And we can talk more about it.
President Anderson,
Yes, Manager Baki?
so I do appreciate the work that Steve and Mike and Emily are doing.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I appreciate. And we've had many meetings discussing this, and we've moved forward to a point where we presented it to the public. And to now backtrack is a little bit confusing to me. So I think that's why we need to be more transparent with these discussions. If there is some changes, if there is some new information. And, you know, as far as the Commissioner Myron's comments are concerned, go ahead and replace the board, because you won't find more people dedicated and who have spent more time trying to figure this out than this board. So those threats fall on dull ears as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
That's because your lake's been fixed.
And so is yours.
But, you know, the other thing is that
I'm waiting.
Fran had another comment. He says, you know, elections are won or lost by the people that vote that don't come to any of the informational meetings, which is most of the people. So we don't have enough time. We've reached 40 people and 3 board association members. There's gonna be 6,000 votes. If somebody knows we have a 23%, 23.6% increase, and that's a big bother to them, even though we're correct. And they don't know it because they've never come to the meetings. It's gonna,
Votes, what were you talking about, votes?
vote, so if they're upset about it or something like that.
We're not voted, we're assigned by the, or appointed, I mean, by the counties.
Right,
So there's no voting involved in our
Right.
positions.
the counties don't like to see big increases like that either.
Well, we need to educate them. I'm sure that there's someone on their staff that understands when your basis is as low as ours is, 20% isn't the same as it is for the county.
People call Fran and say, these guys are out of control.
Yeah,
So then they nominate people that are gonna take control of the situation, which means somebody that's gonna come in and cut the heck out of the whole thing.
yeah, well, we're just talking about the same things over and over again, so I
Right.
think it's time for us to
Move on.
table this and
President.
do what we just talked
President
about,
Anderson.
yes. Manager Tate, go ahead.
The one thing that I want to have clarified is, how this, reducing the levy percentage and the, taking out additional loans, I just need to see a clear, I understand what you said tonight. I just need to see a clear path through that, for my own understanding. That's the part that I have a question about.
Okay, good. And I think handing this information out as soon as possible and then surveying for a date to discuss it in a week or two, probably 2 weeks, makes sense. Do I need to get a vote to table, Chuck?
There's no vote.
There's no motion.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. All right, so be it. Let's move on. A Minnesota Watershed Annual Conference registration.
Madam Chair, managers, so this is kind of just an annually reoccurring item. The annual conference this year is scheduled for December 3rd through 5th. The reservation deadline is Saturday, November 1st for a hotel room. And so we just want to check in on this and get an idea of which managers would like to attend, and then make sure that we are getting all of the reservations and everything arranged for you. And also the motion to, of course, authorize the managers and staff to attend the conference itself.
President Anderson,
Yes,
given our budget concerns, and I know we have budgeted for these conferences and there's money in the budget for it. However, I would recommend that we send you as president to the conference, and I know you'd like to go and you should. And perhaps Manager Jim, as a new manager, should go, but that's it. As I look, the cost is about $1,000 per manager. I know that's not a lot, but it is, I think, making a good effort to show we are trying to control the budget. And if you as president could bring back pertinent information to share with the board, I think that would be a practical thing to do for this conference.
okay,
I would echo that. I think Manager Schottmuller, for me, these conferences were an incredible, really helped me understand what was going on and really advance my knowledge of what was going in the watersheds. And if he can go, that'd be great. I'm not available at that time to go this year, so I'm off the list already.
okay,
I think it makes good sense because, I've been a number of times and like I say, you don't save 150,000 at a time.
mhm,
It's 2,000 here, it's 5,000 here, it's sort of adding
Yeah.
up when you start watching your pennies a little
Yeah.
bit, so I'm okay with that too.
well, would you like to make that a motion?
Yes, I will make the motion that we approve President Anderson's attendance at the conference. And if Manager Jim would like to go, I would recommend that as well.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that as treasurer.
All right, very good, let's get roll call.
All right, Manager Schmaltz.
Aye.
Manager Buck.
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Thank you. Passes unanimously. Let's move on then. Report of
Madam
staff.
Chair,
Yes,
the proposed motion also authorized staff. Does the board have an intention as to staff?
well, I think we should allow staff to go, as the administrator directs it, because, all of the sessions change each year,
Right.
and, we don't know which conferences sessions are going to be important for our staff, so I'd rather leave that to Administrator Kenny.
Would you like a board motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Doesn't he have the liberty to spend up to $25,000 on his own?
Yeah, 20.
20,000, that should more than cover it for staff to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I believe that's for contracts and this type of expenditure, I think, is a matter of board authorization.
Okay, well, he's gonna keep it under, but we're going to get discounts if we can get these people signed up here sooner rather than later, so and get better rooms, of course, as well. So I'll make the motion to authorize Administrator Kenny to work with staff to decide attendance at the Minnesota Watersheds Annual Conference. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Manager Taves. Roll call?
Manager Schmaltz.
Aye.
Manager Bakshi.
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Now we can move on. Report of staff administrator.
Since Mike is kind of difficult to speak right now, I'll just say if there's any questions that managers have on the administrator's report, we can answer those. And maybe just one item of note that you might get to during the report of officers and managers is that the Lower St. Croix Policy Committee, the quarterly meeting, is coming up on Monday. There's a few different items on that agenda that just went out. One of them, I think that me and another staff person will be giving an update on the midpoint evaluation and the performance review and assistance program. So some information went out on that, and I can speak more to that if there's any questions.
Okay. Thank you. Was that somebody called?
I think Mike might be trying to.
Oh.
I was
okay,
just saying,
Mike?
just say, thanks, Emily. I have nothing further to add.
Okay, thank you. EOR,
Greg is here today.
Greg?
Good evening, President and managers. Yeah, Anna's out on vacation, so I'm filling in for her today. I'll keep it short and sweet. The big highlight for this month was wrapping up that second dose of alum on Forest Lake. That all went very well. As you recall, we increased the dose a little bit based on sediment cores and adaptive management, and we got that full dose applied, and contractor wrapped everything up and cleaned up the site. So we're done with that project, and everything was within the grant budget.
Great.
Fantastic, thank you. Any questions? Okay, let's move on. Item 10, report of,
Report staff, Smith Partners.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting every time.
I have
Sorry,
nothing,
Chuck.
nothing to report, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, next is report of the treasurer.
Okay, so income for this month was $11,979.30. And total expenses then came in at $491,837.50. And that's way above our average expense, which is not good, but most of that, 300,000 of that was because of the alum treatment. And as I understand it, we have grants that will cover most of that, but won't show up until October. So we should pick up those dollars in October to cover that. So in terms of what our cash position would
You
be.
mean November?
No, this is through September.
Okay, okay, that's
Yeah,
right.
right, so October,
Yeah, yeah,
this check should come in October.
yeah, I gotcha.
Okay,
Mhm.
so with that then, I would like the board to approve the treasurer's report, authorize the payment of the bills as stated, and then the transfer amount will be $433,300 for this month. Are there any questions or comments?
I'll make the
Okay.
motion to approve paying of bills and the transfer.
I will second that
Second.
motion.
Okay, Manager Baki, thank you. Roll call.
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye,
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Taves,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Thank you, motion passes. Next is report of officers and managers. Manager Baki, why don't you kick us off?
Nothing to report, President Anderson.
Thank you. Manager Taves,
Nothing here either.
thank you. Manager Smalls?
nothing today.
Nothing, okay. Well, I have just a couple of things. Mike and I met with, a member of, well, it was actually the administrator, executive director of Minnesota Watersheds. And Jason Hansen, thank you, from Bowser. And he was the gentleman that was at our 25th anniversary celebration, representing Bowser last year. And they were just doing, neither of us really knew what their visit was about. But they really are taking a trip apparently through Minnesota, just stopping at each watershed. And so we had a top level kind of conversation about the problems that we've had getting our scientific work done before the projects and getting it paid for, I mean. And so we are setting up another meeting with Jason to talk about this and try to get some resolution. There is, and I think we have talked about this before, but there is a new watershed-based implementation fund manual that was produced, and there is coverage for that type of activity in that new well, it was experimental for a few years, but it's now effective. So through the Lower St. Croix and One Watershed, One Plan entities. You can't do it directly on your own as a watershed, but you can go through your One Watershed, One Plan entity in your area. And so we'll be talking about that and also talking to him about compensation from Bowser for some of that or all of that past work, because it's all required under our statute. So we'll have a good conversation at some time in the future. It hasn't been set yet, but we wanted you to know about it. And if we can get that done, that's going to obviously help us on recovering. If we look at the 12 million that we got in the Bowser grants, remember the chart that Emily did for us, or the dive on how much we weren't getting. We were actually getting 60% of that 90% that we were supposed to get paid. So it's a lot of money. It's almost equal to our debt burden right now. So we're hoping to have some success with that. We'll be talking to Chuck, of course, more about getting ready for that meeting once it's set. So that's the most exciting news that I have. And that's it.
That is exciting. I didn't realize it was that big.
Mhm.
Is that gonna be an obstacle for them to bend, or could they bend for like half of that? I mean, anything we get is gonna be
Well,
helping us.
Who knows?
But I think we should be ready to negotiate if we have to. That's what I'm saying, because
I know what I'm doing.
Okay,
And so,
right.
and so I know a lot of people there. And I think that when we work with Chuck to get all the statutes, the ones that I've read, this is mandatory, that we approach things in a scientific way. And we certainly have done that. So the other thing, I was at the Minnesota Watershed, Metro Minnesota Watersheds meeting on Tuesday night, and mostly at that meeting, what happens is heads of, or people from all of the state agencies involved in water, come down and give us, overview of what's happening, what new things are coming. And, when the MPCA person was up, she announced that Comfort Lake will be delisted, in 2026. And because we do, that approach, which is so unique, and we have such great success rates and also outcomes with a shorter period of time, they're sending a videographer, to talk with me and Mike and I want, someone from EOR. I talked to Cecilio today about, him possibly doing it. He was there from the beginning, and give them the story. They would like to use it to, teach other districts around the state, on this method that we've been using. So that was very exciting, and I expect that we'll have some good publicity around that, in, the state papers and so on. And certainly with Minnesota Watershed, so. Everybody can feel proud about that. And that's it for me tonight. And Chuck? Our summary?
Madam Chair, managers, I just have that staff will survey managers for a special meeting on the longer term budgeting and provide the documents with the figures and scenarios.
Thank you.
And I would suggest that that not be done until we have the alternatives worked out. It could be right away. It may take us some while. There's no use setting up a meeting if we don't know we can make the date.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
We'd rather do it that way. Next item is adjournment. Unless people want to stay.
I'll move that we adjourn, Madam President.
Right. Is there a second? I'll second.
All right, Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Bachman,
Aye.
Manager Tate,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. It was a good meeting. We are breaking up here at 8:31. So there we go. Pretty
Good
much
night.
on time.